The misplaced outrage over riots in the Muslim world, that is the topic of tonight's byline. Let me put this to you bluntly. You are being lied to about the cause of the attacks on American and now German embassies in Muslim countries. The consensus media wants you to believe that this is about a YouTube video, despite plenty of evidence to the contrary. First off, there's the idea that there can be two spontaneous riots occurring in two different cities in two different countries on the anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. It's all spontaneous. That alone should tell you that the attacks were planned and coordinated and not the work of a spontaneous, angry mob. There are credible reports in Libya that local security forces directed those attacking the consulate, including those with jihadist ties, to the location of Ambassador Christopher Stevens. The Independent, a British newspaper, has a report that American intelligence officials believe the attack in Libya was actually retaliation against the United States for a drone strike last June that took out Mohammed Hassan Qaid, an al-Qaeda operative originally from Libya. The riots in Egypt that saw the American flag taken down and the embassy's security breached, well, that was all about freeing another al-Qaeda operative, the Blind Sheikh. How do we know this? The organizers, including the brother of the current leader of al-Qaeda, told CNN's veteran foreign correspondent Nick Robertson all about it in an interview the morning of September 11th. We showed you that video last night, but it's worth showing again.
Zawahiri leads me to a protest outside the US Embassy.
And this is the protest calling for the release of Sheikh Abdul Rahman.
The so-called Blind Sheikh, jailed for his part in the 1993 World Trade Center attack in New York. We meet the Sheikh's son.
And when you call for prisoners to be released as part of your document, you're talking about Sheikh Abdul Rahman.
Of course.
Yeah.
The first one we are calling.
The first one.
To ask about.
CNN has this video. They haven't been showing it to you. Other Canadian media outlets like us that are partnered with CNN have it as well. They're not showing it to you. Why? There were also reports even before the Robertson interview that said there would be threats of violence. Raymond Ibrahim, an Arabic-speaking American, posted on reports September 10th out of Cairo that jihadis were threatening to burn the U.S. Embassy to the ground to ensure the release of the Blind Sheikh. When people tell you what they're doing and why they're doing it, should we take them at face value? When the people in question are leaders of jihadist movements who have been clear about their demands to release the Blind Sheikh, I'd say we should. But what are we told instead? We're told this is all about a movie. So much so that this is what the media is doing with their airtime.
This is the best address we have for Sam Basil, or Nakula Basili, whatever you want to call him. You can see all of the media is camped out here. We're going to try one more time to talk to him. Mr. Basil, Mr. Nakula. It's Miguel Marquez with CNN.
Unbelievable. CNN sending a reporter along with all the other media outlets to stake out the home of the reputed producer of the movie. Forget all the other evidence. Let's go stake out the home of some guy and blame him. There have also been denunciations of this movie from the Obama administration and calls for the movie maker to be jailed by such foreign policy stalwarts as Bette Midler. The world came to the aid of a Russian band recently that had desecrated an Orthodox church in Moscow with their political attack on Vladimir Putin. That case, well, that was free speech. But now the idea of freedom of speech is not welcomed because it goes against Islam? Really? Here in Canada, our media stalwarts are joining Bette Midler in blaming the C-grade movie for the riots.
Much of the chaos seemingly triggered by one obscure and offensive online video.
The fuse that started all of this, an amateur movie made in America.
The violent reaction to the video.
Fury over an American-made video that mocks the Prophet Muhammad.
A video that prompted all those protests.
The film that has now inflamed the Arab world.
The so-called film behind the furor.
The origin of this outrage, more on the movie.
Anti-American anger that was triggered by an obscure and offensive online video.
Here's what is crazy about that. That's not a week's worth of tape. That's not taking tape from a whole day. That's from last night's national newscast on CBC and CTV. But just like in the past, while they're willing to lay the blame on the piece of art, they're not willing to show you that piece of art.
CBC News has decided not to show any part of the video that sparked the anti-American violence, but we will introduce you to some of the people involved.
CTV News has made a decision not to show any of the film, which largely remains a mystery.
Wow. How different would this be if the object of the film's ridicule were Christianity? I could list off numerous times that Christians have complained about movies, music, books. Don't worry about it. When Catholics simply thought to correct the record, when they wanted to say, hey, look, the Da Vinci Code's, it's just a book. Let's make sure we correct the record on it. They were told, calm down, relax, it's only a movie. Well, now it's only a movie, and that's being used as a reason for Muslims to riot, burn, murder, and pillage. The evidence may not say that, but the media runs with it anyway as an excuse. Why? Because it allows them to engage in their bigotry of low expectations and then turn around and attack the makers of this movie, who they've tried to paint as both devout Israeli Jews and American right-wing Christians, both groups that they don't like. This is not about a movie, or at least it didn't start out that way. You're being lied to by those who tell you it is. This started out as a pair of planned attacks on America on the anniversary of 9/11. The movie might be getting used as an excuse now to whip up crowds who show up, who all carrying the same banner, the same signs by the hundreds. And you tell me this isn't an organized effort? Egyptian writer and democracy activist Mona El Thwathway was online with reports that demonstrators might be getting paid to show up. She can't verify that yet, but I think everyone knows that when you're all showing up with the same flag, using the same printing, that there's an organization behind what's happening. Islamic radicals are using the events of the past week to whip up the mob and play politics. But most American and Canadian media outlets, they're just going to tell you it's all about a YouTube video. Remember, though, these are the same people that looked to Twitter and Facebook and thought the Arab Spring's great. It's going to be all about liberal democracy, not about the Muslim Brotherhood. You're not getting the truth elsewhere, but you will get it here. And that's the byline.
This is a fairly volatile situation, and it is in response not to United States policy, not to, obviously, the administration, not to the American people. It is in response to a video.
And that is why I wrote my column saying that Barack Obama is not a serious man. There's his spokesman out saying it's about the video. They have access to even more intelligence than we do, saying this isn't the case. If you haven't checked out my column on why we should never trade Prime Minister Harper for President Obama, check it out at lillyspad.ca. One of the problems I think that the media have in this situation is that they don't speak Arabic. They don't understand Arabic. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I do either, but we are in contact with people that do, people like Raymond Ibrahim. And our next guest, Igor Karman, is with the Middle East Media Research Institute Memory. They do yeoman's work on the front line. Thanks for joining us today, sir. Is that a big problem with what's going on here? A language barrier where our consensus media just take what they're spoon-fed from others and say, well, I guess this is about Facebook, or I guess this is about a YouTube video, because they can understand that?
Well, this is the mission and the role of memory for the last 15 years. We are trying to bridge the gap of language. Once you have access to primary source material that is there, you can see what's coming. It doesn't need secrets, it doesn't need CIA, it doesn't need anything. It's right there, written in the media. This garbage, bigoted movie was there on the internet for months, until the Egyptian media began to stir it up a week before September 11. This is the media whose editors-in-chief were appointed newly by the Muslim Brotherhood leadership, by the President Mohammed Morsi.
Just so we can pause there, Mohammed Morsi, of course, a man that we showed one of your videos in the past from memory, where he sat alone as they talked about how he nodded along as at an election rally where they said Jerusalem will be the capital of the caliphate and millions of martyrs will march. These are the sorts of things that you're able to bring forward. I understand the Egyptian media was also talking weeks before September 11th that there would be a protest to free the blind sheikh, and that's what the protest would be about, correct?
Right. The campaign for that is running for a long time. Mr. Morsi has vowed to do everything possible to free him in a very known speech where he accepted his nomination, so to speak. But I want to say more than that. Look, Morsi, too late this morning, said something that is very good. He said the sanctity of the life of the American ambassador in Libya is higher or greater than the sanctity of the Kaaba in Mecca. That's good, but this is just a statement because the Muslim Brotherhood had the audacity to today, I mean even after yesterday's events, to call for a demonstration. So now he regrets what he's done, now he's trying to correct it. This is his test. He should show that it's not just about statement, nice statement, but that he is determined to fight them. And this is the test of the policy. We are trying to collaborate with a Muslim Brotherhood leadership in order to have the others, the more extremists, in line, so that they fight them, the Muslim Brotherhood fights them. If they do. If they don't, then the whole policy is just bringing into catastrophe. We have to give them a few days, a week, 2 weeks, to decide where are they standing. But if they don't, if they are not determined to act against the more extremists, then they are an enemy, and this will be a new future for America, for the West in general.
All right, well, trouble ahead, but we can rely on memory to keep us abreast of what's going on. Mr. Carmen, thanks for dropping by today. And if you want